Hello everybody and welcome back to another video from the Theory of Racelessness. Before the clip, we have some very exciting news. Dr. Sheena Mason, Dr. Carlos HOYT, and Greg Thomas present Resolving the Racism Dilemma, a full-day conference coming up this September 24th, 2022. Register using the link in the description box down below to experience these leading voices as they explore and discuss how to correct the misguided notions of race. Now, enjoy the video.
That they hold. So for me, I think aligning ourselves with each other based on our shared values would be the most fruitful way to do things, because at the end of the day, we do have more in common than we have different. And we can get values from our families. In some ways, we can be taught how not to be from our families, like in my instance. And so you and I might come from completely different families, but clearly we align in a lot of deep ways based on our shared values. And I think that would be a better way to think of ourselves. Like when I think of affinity groups, for example, right now we're doing the whole race specific affinity grouping and gender specific and sexuality specific and stuff like that. But I'm like, what would a world look like if we had affinity groups that were based on shared values or shared hobbies or something? Presumably it would inspire more diversity within the groups. It would inspire more cohesion and collaboration and like cross interactions that you don't necessarily get by proxy of focusing on phenotype and things like that. And that's the kind of world I want to live in. That's the kind of world I want to live in. But I'll say too, in terms of what you're saying about the importance and value of being able to think about your family and who you are in relationship with them, I think Ancestry, DNA, 23andMe, those kinds of things are a game changer to help us toward racelessness, because up until a certain point, people who look like you and I would fall back on the fact that we can't point to our ethnic origins, or we can't point to the origins of our familial ancestors because of the slave trade. But now we have these tests, which are accessible. I mean, $40-$50, something like that. And you can have your ethnicities mapped out for you. And if you're really interested, you can pursue doing research on any of the ethnicities that you feel inspired to know more about. So I think that can also help us toward racelessness too.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I think like when people talk about being mixed, it's like it can be taboo, but at the end of the day, we're all mixed up. And honestly, you don't even need a DNA test to tell you that, because most people already know what they're mixed with, because they'll tell you depending on the conversation. So, yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I think people should just celebrate all of who they are, not just one aspect. What sense does it make to know all these different things, but you're only claiming one? That doesn't make sense.
You're only claiming one and you're translating it into race language, right? Like, my ancestry includes Nigeria, Benin, of course, that's Cameroon. It includes at least like 3 or 4 different countries in Africa. And then the average person will take that information and say, okay, I'm X% Black. And I'm like, why? Like the richness, the entire point of doing the test, to my mind, is lost, and opportunities are lost, because if some people are mourning the loss of being connected to the continent of Africa, for example, then that's a way to reconnect. But then it kind of, to me, is diminished if we just take that and translate it into race ideology. Because as you said, it's like people tend to want to claim one thing more than the other, if at all. And I would say too, it's beautiful to hear you think out loud, because I think people take for granted that only a person like me with lighter skin is mixed. right? Like that would be the general presumption. People automatically, I know people who look like me and who for all intents and purposes aren't considered mixed, but has lighter skin than I am, right? And I'm just convinced that one of their parents looks like fill in the blank, right? And then I meet the parents, I meet the grandparents, I meat the great grandparents, and I'm like, where's the person? Like, where is this? Like, how do you look like that? And that's the complexity of just human DNA and how our genes get expressed. But people take that for granted. And then people would look at someone like my wife, for example, who has darker skin than I, and presume that there's no mixing. But of course she has some mixed heritage. Look, I got my pick in my hand. Of course she's got some mixed heritage and stuff going on, because as you said, thanks to globalization, thanks to the Middle Passage, I think it's more often the case than not that people would come to find that they are ethnically mixed across the board. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, that shouldn't be something we're sad about.
Yeah, for sure. I just had a thought. Yeah, I think that I just had the thought. Like, okay, I got it back. Like, we're taught that, you know, people didn't identify themselves as Black or white or whatever else initially. So if that's not how it was initially, why are we okay with doing it still? You know what I mean? Like, if we already know that we didn't claim ourselves as this, why continue to claim it, you know?
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed that highlight. To watch the full version, use the link in the description box down below. Before we go, here's another reminder for Resolving the Racism Dilemma with Dr. Sheena Mason, Dr. Carlos HOYT, and Greg Thomas. We highly encourage you check out the great things being offered at this conference, September 24th. All of the conference information is linked down below. We hope to see you there.